Hi, I'm the Red Lady, and today I want to address the subject of dietary choices. As someone who has been all of the above at various points in my life, vegetarian, vegan and carnivore, I wanted to honestly address some of the benefits and challenges related to the choices we make as to what we eat. As a shamanic practitioner, I'm guessing that everyone might assume that I'm a solid advocate for veganism or vegetarianism, and that's not necessarily the case, to be honest. I'm an advocate for free will above everything else, and I'm experienced enough when it comes to these dietary choices to know that what is right for one person isn't always right for another. And so you won't find me to be the type of spiritual practitioner who is insisting that everyone should be vegan or vegetarian and consistently shoveling the idea down everyone's throat. That's not who I am, and that's certainly not who I want to be. I believe that making these types of choices about your diet needs a lot more thought than simply I'm going vegan because I think eating meat and dairy is cruel to animals and bad for the environment. There is much more to consider than that. Plus, to be perfectly honest, on a personal level, I found that being vegetarian, vegan or carnivore didn't have any kind of impact on my personal spiritual or magical practice at all. Being a vegan or vegetarian does not, make you any more spiritual or make you a better person. It doesn't. You are not more able to communicate with spirits or perform magical work because you don't eat meat. It doesn't work that way. The spirits don't somehow regard you as more evolved because you're a vegan and, somehow favour you more or something. To be honest, I've discovered that, they don't give a shit what you eat. They really don't. Making a dietary change is a personal choice, and you need to consider very carefully how your own body is going to adjust to that change and how it will affect you in the long term. So the reason I'm doing this video is because I find myself in a place where I'm reconsidering my dietary choices again. So to put you briefly in the picture, I was a vegetarian for about 13 years, and then I went back to eating meat for about 15 years, and then I went vegan for about a year or maybe a bit longer than that, and then I went back to eating meat again. And just so you know, I am not really a great lover of eating meat at all. It's never been my thing. I eat it quite sparingly, actually. So I'm in a place now where I'm considering going back to either vegetarianism or veganism, because I now wouldn't need to be preparing, 2 different meals, for myself and the rest of the family. My kids have flown the nest and I live alone, so that was one of the challenges for me. I think it was extremely time consuming and it cost me more money. Plus back then, there were hardly any vegan foods on the supermarket shelves at all. Not many vegetarian options either back then, apart from, Linda McCartney stuff and vegetables, fruit, lentils, nuts, whatever. Now I'm seeing such a buffet of both vegetarian and vegan foods in my local supermarket that I am seriously considering changing my diet again. So looking at veganism specifically here for a moment, many people who try veganism don't stay vegan for very long, and that mostly boils down to self-discipline issues because they love the taste of meat, or that they weren't getting enough variety in their vegan diet, or taking supplements and weren't getting enough iron, calcium, vitamin D or B vitamins or whatever, and that may have caused them to become tired or to feel ill in some way. So when veganism is practiced correctly with the correct knowledge of how it may affect you, and you're eating a wide variety of foods that'll cover all your vitamin and mineral requirements, and maybe taking supplements if you need to, then that diet can be beneficial for that individual on many levels, absolutely. The truth is, veganism needs to be approached with the understanding and knowledge of what kind of vitamins and minerals your body needs. Everyone's different. If someone opts into veganism with only thoughts of animal welfare or the environment in mind and isn't considering the other challenges it may bring, or isn't thinking about what their body needs, then that person is highly likely to have a bad experience of veganism and possibly end up abandoning it entirely, and possibly even ending up with a negative attitude to it in the long run. A possible scenario there might be, oh, I tried veganism, it made me ill, and then, all your meat-eating friends will say, we told you so. Preparation and doing your research on your personal dietary requirements is key. Your own personal dietary requirements is key to succeeding with veganism. You do need to take into consideration factors like your age, whether you're active or inactive. Are you healthy enough in the first instance to make that change? Do you have any underlying health conditions that may affect that choice, and what impact that may have, whether for good or bad? So if anyone watching this is thinking, or listening to this is thinking about making this type of change, and you are serious about making that change, it's probably a good idea to talk to your doctor about it, because then your doctor can be aware of this, and maybe you could, get 6 monthly check on your vitamin levels or something. Even if you have, you may have a deep and genuine concern for animal welfare or the environment, your health requirements need not just to be taken into consideration, but they need to come first if you are going to succeed with that dietary and lifestyle change. Other factors that can affect this are, whether you live alone or in a family environment. Having to prepare separate meals to what everyone else is eating can be more difficult than you think in the long term. If that's the circumstance you're in. If you live alone or all the family is opting for veganism or vegetarianism, then that's going to make things, quite a bit easier. But preparing separate vegetarian or vegan meals when meat and dairy is cooking around you and others are eating it in front of you, that can be far more challenging than you might have originally thought. Also, eating out 10 years ago as a vegan was certainly challenging. Now there are far more options on menus, and, also eating at other people's houses can also become more of a challenge. That can be awkward as well. But those are the kind of issues that you have to face when you make these kind of choices. Also, other people's attitudes to your dietary choice, and you won't believe how rude some people can be, and that includes family and friends. Some people have quite aggressive opinions on veganism in particular, and they like to make noise about it, whether that's for or against it. That works both ways. My stance on this is quite simple, really. The choices, I make about my diet are nobody's business but my own. If you don't like it, tough tits. So taking the vegetarian option is definitely easier than going straight from carnivore to vegan. If veganism is your goal, but you think it might be too challenging, then go vegetarian first and see how that works out. You could always transition into veganism later on. So these are just some of the thoughts that are swimming around in my own mind right now. So I've talked about some of the challenges. Let's look at the benefits. For starters is the feel-good factor. I personally found that following a vegan diet, I ate far less junk food, if any at all, and I didn't have to watch my weight at all. I wouldn't necessarily say that eating vegan is cheaper overall though, unless you were originally a big meat eater and were used to buying like big steaks and joints of meat. If that's the case, then it might well work out cheaper to go vegetarian or vegan. But for me overall, I didn't find it cheaper. In fact, I'd say I'd spend a bit more, because the vegan milk, cheese and protein alternatives are not exactly, they're not dirt cheap. But spending a few extra pounds or dollars or whatever was worth me knowing in my own mind, at the time, that I wasn't eating animals that came from an unethical living environment. So if you are well off enough to have the option to buy organic and ethically raised meat and dairy produce, that is also another option to consider as well. But the vast majority of people can't afford to pay those kind of prices on a consistent basis, because organic meat is extremely expensive. There's no point in even attempting to sugarcoat that. So these are some of the thoughts on these, some of my thoughts on these various dietary and lifestyle choices. This is what's going on with me right now, and I hope this video has helped in some way if you have been thinking along similar lines. At the moment, I have meat products in the freezer, and I'm not going to let them go to waste or give them away. I mean, I suppose I could sell them on, but I think I will be gradually replacing those items with more vegetarian and vegan options, and probably make a nice and smooth, hopefully, transition into vegetarianism fairly soon, and later on perhaps veganism again. I haven't quite decided yet. I am the Red Lady. Please give this video a like. Feel free to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And please do check out my other videos and playlists, which are mostly centered on the practice of shamanic witchcraft. And I will see you soon.